I need to tell you something, and I need to tell you now while I still can. I'm 83 years old. I've lived a full life, built an empire, survived prison, made comebacks that people said were impossible, but at 72, I almost didn't make it past that year. Life nearly took me. And what I learned in that moment, lying in a hospital bed connected to machines, wondering if I'd see another morning, that changed everything. This isn't just another story about my life. This is the message I need to leave, especially for those of you who are over 70 or getting close to it. Because at our age, we don't have the luxury of pretending we have unlimited time. We don't. And that's exactly why what I'm about to share with you matters so much. Before we begin, tell me, what city are you watching from? And how old are you? Leave it in the comments. Subscribe to this channel. I want to know who's here with me today, because this message, this is for you. Now, let me tell you what happened. It was February 2013. I was 72 years old and I thought I was invincible. I had survived federal prison at 63, rebuilt my company from the ground up, launched new products, returned to television, proved every critic wrong. If 5 months in Alderson didn't break me, what could? That's what I told myself. I was working 16-hour days, sleeping 4, maybe 5 hours a night, running from meeting to meeting, photo shoot to photo shoot, decision to decision. My body tried to tell me something was wrong, but I didn't listen. On Tuesday, I felt a strange pressure in my chest. I ignored it, probably just stress. Or maybe I ate something that didn't agree with me. I had a product launch to prepare for. I had a show to tape. I had people counting on me Wednesday. The pressure came back, stronger this time, along with the fatigue I'd never felt before, like my body was made of lead, but I pushed through, because that's what I'd always done. Push through, power through, never stop. Thursday morning, I woke up and couldn't breathe properly. The room was spinning. I tried to get out of bed, and everything went black. I woke up in a hospital room, machines beeping, tubes in my arms, bright lights. My assistant was crying in the corner, and a doctor was standing over me, saying words I never thought I'd hear. Martha, you've had a cardiac event. Your body is shutting down. If you'd waited a few more hours, you wouldn't have made it. I remember thinking, this can't be happening. Not to me. I survived prison. I survived public humiliation. I survived losing everything and building it back. How could my own body betray me like this? But that was the problem, wasn't it? I had been betraying my body for years, and finally, it said enough. Now, before we go further, I need to hear from you. If you've ever had a health scare, if you've ever pushed your body too far, if you've ever ignored the warning signs because you thought you were too strong, too busy, or too important to stop, drop a comment and just type the word survived. I want to see how many of us are out there. And subscribe to this channel, because what I'm about to tell you next might save your life. I spent 3 days in the ICU. 3 days where I couldn't work, couldn't check emails, couldn't make decisions, couldn't control anything. All I could do was lie there, breathe, and think. And you know what I realized? The world didn't end. My company kept running. My team handled everything. The product launch happened. The show got taped. Everything I thought would fall apart without me didn't. For years, decades, really. I had convinced myself that I was indispensable, that if I stopped, everything would collapse, that my value was directly tied to how much I could produce, how hard I could work, how much I could control. But lying in that hospital bed, I saw the truth. I wasn't indispensable. I was just too stubborn to let anyone else do the work. I had built my entire identity around being productive, being busy, being in control. And in doing that, I had forgotten something crucial. I had forgotten to simply be. On the third day, my daughter Alexis came to visit. She sat beside my bed, held my hand, and said something I'll never forget. Mom, you've spent your whole life proving your worth through work, but you almost died without ever proving your worth by just existing. Those words hit me harder than anything the doctor had said, because she was right. I had spent 72 years believing that my value came from what I produced, from the empire I built, from the books I wrote, from the shows I created. But what about just being Martha? Not Martha Stewart, the brand, not Martha Stewart, the businesswoman, just Martha, the woman who loves gardens and animals and beautiful things, the woman who finds joy in a perfectly baked loaf of bread, the woman who, underneath all the accomplishments, was still just a girl from Jersey City trying to prove she mattered. When had I stopped believing I mattered just by existing? When had my worth become conditional on my productivity? Let me share with you the 5 lessons I learned in that hospital room. 5 lessons that I wish, God, how I wish I had learned 20 years earlier. But I'm sharing them now while I still can, because if you're over 70 or getting close, you need to hear this. The first lesson, your body is not a machine. I treated mine like it was. I pushed it, ignored it, demanded from it without ever asking what it needed. And for years, it performed. It kept going. It did what I asked until it couldn't anymore. Your body will work with you for a long time, but eventually, if you don't listen to it, it will force you to stop. And when it does, you don't get to negotiate. The second lesson, being indispensable is a dangerous myth. Nobody is indispensable, not you, not me, not anyone. And believing you are, that's not humility. That's not dedication. That's ego. It's ego dressed up as responsibility. When you believe you're indispensable, you rob other people of the opportunity to step up. You rob yourself of the chance to rest. And you build a life that depends on you never stopping, which means you can never truly live. The third lesson, success without health isn't success. It's just a slow path to the grave. I had achieved everything I set out to achieve: billion-dollar company, household name, cultural icon. But what good is any of that if you're too sick to enjoy it? What good is money if you're too exhausted to spend it? What good is recognition if you're too burned out to appreciate it? At 72, lying in that hospital bed, I realized something terrifying. I had spent so much time building a legacy that I forgot to build a life. The fourth lesson, you are not what you produce. This one is hard for people like us. We've spent our whole lives being valued for what we do, how hard we work, how much we accomplish, how useful we are, but that's not who we are. You are not your job. You're not your productivity. You're not your usefulness. You are a human being with inherent worth just because you exist, just because you're here. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you can stop killing yourself trying to prove something you never needed to prove. And the fifth lesson, the one that saved not just my life, but my soul. Life doesn't warn you when it's ending. You don't get a notification. You don't get a countdown. You don't get time to prepare. One day you're working. The next day you're in a hospital wondering if you'll see another sunrise. And when you're facing that moment, when you're lying there wondering if this is it, you don't think about your accomplishments. You don't think about your work. You don't think about your empire or your awards or your recognition. You think about the moments you missed, the sunsets you were too busy to watch, the conversations you were too distracted to have, the simple joys you postponed because there was always something more important. And you realize, God, how clearly you realize that you traded the things that mattered for the things that didn't. When I left the hospital, I made a decision I was going to change everything. And I did. For the first time in my life, I took a full month off. No work, no emails, no meetings, nothing. At first, it was torture. I didn't know who I was without the work. My identity had been so tied to productivity that without it, I felt empty. But slowly, something shifted. I started sleeping 7, 8 hours a night. I started taking walks in the morning without my phone. I started sitting in my garden, just sitting, watching the birds and the flowers. I started saying no to things, not because I couldn't do them, but because I didn't want to, because they didn't serve my life anymore. They only served my brand. I started delegating more, trusting my team to handle things without me micromanaging every detail. And you know what happened? My company thrived. My team stepped up in ways I never gave them the chance to before. And I started living, not just existing between meetings and deadlines, but actually living, experiencing moments, feeling things, being present. I'm not saying I stopped working, I didn't retire, but I stopped letting work consume me. I stopped believing that my worth was tied to my productivity. I stopped treating my body like a machine and started treating it like the precious, finite gift it is. I'm 83 years old now, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that cardiac event at 72 was the best thing that could have happened to me. Not because it was pleasant, it wasn't. Not because I wanted it, I didn't, but because it forced me to confront a truth I had been avoiding my entire life. Life is finite, and how you spend your time, that's how you spend your life. If you're over 70, you know this already. You've lived long enough to see friends pass away. Family members who were here one day and gone the next. You've felt the ache of time passing faster than you'd like. And maybe, like me, you've spent much of your life working, building, achieving, proving, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something just because it brought you joy? Not because it was productive, not because it served a purpose, just because it made you feel alive? When was the last time you sat in silence and let yourself just be? When was the last time you told someone you loved them, not in passing, but with your full attention? When was the last time you forgave yourself for not being perfect? Because here's what I've learned. The things that matter most in life, they're not the things we achieve. They're the things we experience, the moments we share, the love we give and receive, the beauty we notice, the peace we find. And none of that requires productivity. None of that requires achievement. It just requires presence. It just requires you to be here, fully here, while you still can. So this is my message to you. This is what I want to leave with you. If you're over 70 or anywhere close to it, listen to your body. When it tells you to slow down, slow down. When it tells you to rest, rest. Your body is not your enemy. It's been carrying you your whole life. Honor it. Stop believing you're indispensable. You're not. And that's okay. The world will keep turning. People will step up. Life will continue. And you get to rest. Understand that success without health is meaningless. All the money, all the recognition, all the achievement in the world. It means nothing if you're too sick or too tired to enjoy it. Take care of yourself. It's not selfish, it's essential. Know that you are valuable simply because you exist, not because of what you produce or achieve or accomplish. You matter just as you are, right now. And finally, live like your time is limited, because it is. We don't know how much time we have left. None of us do. So stop postponing joy. Stop waiting for the right time to rest, to connect, to experience, to love. The right time is now. The only time is now. I almost lost my now at 72, and I'm grateful every single day that I got a second chance. But not everyone does. So I'm telling you now, while you still have time, live, really live. Not just exist between obligations, but be present, be alive, be here. Because this, right now, this is your life, and it's the only one you get. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the one thing you've been postponing? The one thing you keep saying you'll do when you have time? Share it in the comments. And if this message resonated with you, if you needed to hear this today, subscribe to this channel, because I'm not done sharing what I've learned. Not yet. While I still can, I'm going to keep speaking, keep sharing, keep trying to help you avoid the mistakes I made. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for listening, and please, please take care of yourself. You matter more than you know.